Hey, happy Father's Day. Excuse me. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. Father's Day 2022. I wanted to come on here and just share a few things with you, but I need to clear my throat. Okay, so I was thinking about this the other day, and I wanted to come on here and share some things with my fathers to help you be a better father, right? And so I won't be before you long. Real quick, so Father's Day is typically not as big as Mother's Day, right? Father's Day is not typically as big as Mother's Day. While we fathers like to complain about this disparity, I believe that fathers over time have created this reality. Now, I don't mean those of us who are listening and watching me now. I mean historically, over time, fathers have directly contributed to the way fathers are seen today. The reason that I say this is because the older that I get, the more I understand humanity. And the thing that I understand about us humans is that we thrive on connection. Always have, always will. That being the case, how is it that the two most important people on the planet are not equally revered? How is that possible? No one is more important than parents, because if we don't have emotionally healthy parents, we can't raise emotionally healthy children. If we don't raise emotionally healthy children, then society as a whole degenerates. You can see this in the world we live in now, right? I could pick a whole lot of topics, but I'll just use the two examples that happened as of late, right? The two most tragic incidents of late. Number one, the Buffalo shooting of unarmed citizens at a grocery store because of the color of their skin. And then the massacre in Uvalde, where an 18-year-old boy takes an assault rifle and kills innocent children. See, the truth is, parental guidance is lacking and has been progressively lacking over the years. And as a mental health provider, I see so many chronological adults who are actually emotional children raising children. And you continue the cycle of societal degeneration. Yeah. And when I talk about, we humans thriving on connection, the father and the mother both are integral parts of the child's life. And if both of them are connecting with the child, how is it that both of them are not revered equally? Personally, I believe it is a well-orchestrated plan by the enemy, Satan, to destroy what God loves, and that's mankind, right? Now, part of that plan includes the removal and devaluing of the father role in the family. God created Adam first, then he created Eve. To me, that says how he intended for the family to be set up. But even if we don't deal with that, because actually I don't want to go that way. Let's talk about this. God created us in his image. The fact that he created us in his image means that on earth, we're supposed to love the way he does. That's for men and women. But then after the fall, everything got all twisted up, right? Fear and pride, which I call the evil twins, they were birthed and the family became under attack. Imagine with me, okay? So I'm gonna give you a scenario of what it looks like for a man growing up in America, okay? So imagine with me. There's a man in the 50s who has a son. 1950s, he has a son. But because his father showed him no affection, he doesn't show any to his son. So I'm telling you how Father's Day got messed up. Okay. Because his father didn't show him any affection, he doesn't show any to his son. He never encourages him when he messes up. He's always hard on his son because he's trying to make him into a man, right? Now, this father is not emotionally intelligent because that part of his humanity was never validated or developed. And because he cannot give his son what he does not have, the son grows up emotionally unintelligent. Fast forward to the 70s. Now the son has a son, but he's still a child inside himself, even though he looks like a man on the outside. So with little variation, he raises his son the way his dad did. No emotional connection, no sense of self, no idea of what it means to be authentically human. Now, he does model for his son hard work because this modeling is what his dad taught him. But also this modeling teaches him that his value is in his work, not in who he is. That's what his dad taught him, right? Fast forward again to the 90s. Now this son has his own son, but he is not married to or even in a relationship with the mother, right? So he sees his son every now and then. His love for his son is great, but he's still trying to figure out how to be a man himself. So he doesn't teach his son things like self-discipline, the danger of pornography, the importance of self-examination, and he don't teach him how to connect with other human beings. This father can't get a decent job because he didn't go to college. And this is during the time when college degrees still mattered. Okay? So he eventually gets his life together, right? He goes through life. He eventually gets it together around the age of 38, right? But now his son is 20 and his son is struggling at life, full of self-doubt, anger, and hopelessness, even though all of his physical needs, except for affection, all of his physical needs were always taken care of. Now, what I just shared, the generational progression I just shared, is the Disney version of the life of men. It's the Disney version. So take that, what we just shared, multiply it by thousands, okay? But wait, you're not finished. After you multiply that by thousands in your mind, then imagine what the X-rated version of this looks like, okay? The X-rated version where you add in alcoholism and you add in drug abuse and you add in molestation and physical abuse. Whatever you could think of to make it the X-rated version, you take then that vision and you multiply that by hundreds of thousands. Then you add those two together. Now you have a picture of the society that we live in. And that is why Father's Day is not as special as Mother's Day, because we still raise our boys for disconnection, even though they're created for connection. And because we humans thrive on connection, Mother's Day is bigger because girls are at least raised to care for others in general. So they're better nurturers than men. So when they grow up to be mothers, their nurturing skills are already at a level that far surpasses us men, right? But I'm convinced that God did not design it to be this way. Yeah, I don't believe this is God's design. The Bible is clear about the love of God, the Father, and the care of his only begotten Son, right? Now, when we talk about the only begotten Son, what Jesus modeled for us was how to do relationships as a human being, not just as a man or a woman, So what Jesus did, that's how you do relationships. And while I'm not trying to encourage you, I'm not trying to encourage you to change the world. I am trying to encourage you to change your world, right? I'm trying to encourage you to change your world. Fathers are just as crucial to the emotional and mental development of a child as mom. Just as crucial, right? But when you convince yourself that your role as a father is to be tough or hard, as opposed to being supportive and nurturing, you perpetuate the degeneration of society as a whole. I talked to one father not long ago, and he told me that he was okay with his children being people pleasers. I'm not making this up. That's what he said, right? Now, I don't know. I hadn't shared with him my spiel on, people pleasing and the kind of prison that is and how bad that is. So maybe he didn't mean it the way I took it, but that's how I took it, right? Here's what he said. He said that he thinks that his children should consider how other people feel before they do whatever it is that they do. So I said, but that's going to set them up for people pleasing. And his response was, I'm okay with that. What? You're okay with that? But see, that is the result of being raised in an unhealthy situation and thinking it is how it's supposed to be because you didn't die. Listen, I've heard this argument too many times. Can we settle this now? Surviving your childhood is not an indication that your childhood was good, nor is it an indication that it is the way to raise children, right? Surviving your childhood should not be your banner that you hold up. You're not supposed to survive. You survive rape. You survive abuse. You survive prison. You shouldn't survive your childhood, right? And the thing that I tried to get this brother to see, the thing that I hope you see, is that children don't see the world the way you do. They don't see the world the way you do. They process the world with themselves in the center of it. So as you're teaching them how to do life based on your dysfunctional childhood, they're interpreting a lot of their reality from a place of not good enough because of how their immature minds work. So fathers, because of this reality and because I always want to help you do love and life better, I want to give you 3 tips to help do your part in making Father's Day a day of joy for the people that you father. That's what I want to do today, okay? And I'm going to be real quick. So here we go. Number 1, learn to be patient and kind. Learn to be patient and kind. Remember, your children don't know what you know, and they don't understand what you understand, okay? When you were their age, you probably did not understand what you're trying to get them to understand. But even if you did know what you're trying to get them to know at this age, even if you did know it, they're not you, okay? Honestly, do they need to learn this lesson today or before they're 18? See, and then there are some lessons that they won't even learn until they're out of your house. So then, if you make patience a priority, then you can lay a better foundation for whatever they don't learn before 18, they can learn it after. And the thing about it is this: patience is the prerequisite for kindness. Why be patient and kind? Because you love them. Because you love them, and the Bible says that love is patient and kind. Fathers, did you know that discipline does not have to be mean? Did you know that discipline does not have to include yelling? As a matter of fact, Any kind of disrespect, such as being mean or yelling, is actually unloving. It doesn't matter what you say as much as it does what you do. You can say, I love you every day while being mean and while yelling, and I promise your children will be mental health candidates. Yeah. See, the thing is, children are going to mess up. Children are going to mess up often. You have to model for them how to do life on this planet. And the main thing you want to model is how to do healthy relationships. So learn to be patient and kind. Number 2, find a therapist and do your own individual work. Yes, please. Find a therapist and do your own individual work. Right? Now, you may not have been abused physically as a child. You may not have been abused verbally as a child. But emotional abuse is a lot more tricky to decipher. Okay? Most emotional abuse stems from neglect. One way emotional neglect happens is because of the scenarios I mentioned earlier about fathers and how they raise their sons. Because they raise their sons when they themselves are emotionally immature, that's going to set the children up for emotional neglect. Listen. So today's Father's Day. I know I was the best father I knew how to be. I prided myself on being a father. When I was raising my children, all my children are grown now. But when I was parenting, I know I was the best father that I knew how to be. And in hindsight, I recognize that my children absolutely have issues of emotional neglect. Why? Because I had no idea that children needed as much validation, support, encouragement, and patience as they do. I don't mean emotional neglect. Let me clear up what I mean about emotional neglect. So when I talk about emotional neglect, I don't mean like, locking you in the basement so you can't eat, right? I don't mean you got to go to your room without dinner. I don't mean not buying you the clothes you want. I don't mean that kind of neglect, right? I'm talking about not being hugged as a child. That's emotional neglect. I'm talking about not being told I'm proud of you or I love you, right? Not having your feelings and your experiences validated. That is emotional neglect. And that causes problems in adulthood, right? And so I'm trying to encourage you, fellas, to find you a therapist and do the work on yourself. Right? Listen to these quotes. I had slides, but I didn't get a chance to put them in the presentation, so I'm going to just read these to you, right? Listen to these quotes. These are from Laura K. Connell. And I want you to see if you can relate to any of these, right? All right, here we go. Many of us who suffered from unmet childhood needs are using a brain wired for survival. That's a mind that stays on high alert for threat, fears making mistakes, and being viewed as foolish. Procrastination then becomes a way to delay the failure we fear. Okay, that's the first one. Here's the next one. I like this quote, but it's not my favorite one. The last one's my favorite, but let me share this one with you. For those of us who grew up with unmet childhood needs, self-love is no easy task. We've been raised to believe that our worth comes in our accomplishments or what we do for others, right? We've never felt what it's like to be loved simply for who we are. And then here's the last one. If you grew up in a home where your needs went unmet consistently, unmet needs can feel like home. Speaking up for yourself can feel wildly self-indulgent and even verboten, which means forbidden. You may have an image of yourself as good because you don't ask for too much. Now, that one, I literally have several husband clients who think this way, right? If you can relate even a little bit to any of these, I strongly encourage you to get the help you need to reparent yourself and overcome your limiting beliefs about you. This then will translate into you being a much more loving father. And it is my contention. It's what I believe. I believe it is impossible for children to resist being close to a father who they believe loves them. I think it's impossible. Now, let me add this exception, right? I'm talking primarily about children under 18. I'm not talking about grown children, right? Once your children are grown, you're more of a mentor than a parent, and you got some others, they got their own decisions and stuff going on. As a matter of fact, the mentoring phase starts long before 18, starts around 13, right? But the point is this, because I don't want to get distracted. Please find a therapist to work with. Find a therapist. And watch this. If therapy is too far of a leap for you, start with a book. Start with Healing Your Lost Inner Child by Robert Jackman. Like, start there. But start. Right? If you can't do therapy, start with a book. Here's the third point. Third point is this. Develop a real relationship with God. Yeah. Develop a real relationship with God. Now, I know a lot of therapists wouldn't say this, but I'm not like a lot of therapists, right? I absolutely believe that in order to live your best life on this planet, include raising healthy children, you have to trust the one who created the schematics for life. That's not even a deep point. That just makes sense, right? When I say a real relationship, I mean spend some time getting to know him for yourself instead of just making decisions about God based on what you've heard. Think about this. When you first meet a young lady, you're all into her. You're trying to get to know her. Like you just want to get to know everything about her. Why? Because it's new and you're interested, right? Now, I got another scenario for you. Let's say you meet a woman, she's a 10. She's a 10. And obviously you're unmarried, right? In the scenario, she's a 10. You're into her, she's into you. And she says, hey, look, I have this video. This video will explain everything about me. Once you watch this video, you know me. And once you watch the video, I'll feel comfortable enough to take you on a trip with me to Aruba, and I'm paying for everything. Right? I mean, I know you're a man if you want to pay, fine, but if you read this, if you watch this video, I'll feel like you know me. I'll take you to Aruba with me. Now, not every man, but most men will get to listening and watching the video immediately. Why? Because when we get to know someone, we get to know them. And if this can speed up the getting to know you process, well, then, yeah, I'm all for that because I want to get to know you and I want the connection. It's for the benefit of the relationship. That's why I'm reading. Because that's why I'm listening. Because you say, if I watch this video, I'll know you and I'm going to get these benefits of Aruba or whatever else. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Right? When you're in a relationship, getting to know the real person is part of the journey to deeper love. And so what I'm telling you is to develop a real relationship with God, get in his word and learn about him. Learn about him. Why? Because you'll be able to understand at a different level the benefits of having God in your life. Yeah. Some of you have beliefs about God that are flat out wrong. Like, that's just wrong. And then some of the beliefs that you have are just distorted. That you need a little tweaking, right? Here's the thing. Lies about God will harm you, right? What you may not know is that God designed you for a desire for him. That's every human being. There's a built-in desire for God. But what we often try to do is fill the God void with a lot of other things. And there'll never be enough. Nothing will ever fill the God void. I'm telling you now. You'll be like a dog chasing your tail. It'll never get filled. Okay? Life happens to everybody. Life happens to everybody, right? We can't avoid that. You cannot avoid life happening to you. Okay? Now, speaking of life, imagine this. Imagine life was like a football game. Okay? So, in this football game of life, this particular game, it's a little different than regular football game. So, in this football game of life, you can't avoid being tackled. Period. You cannot avoid being tackled, right? So since being tackled, blindsided, and even losing yards is a part of life, we can't get around that. You can't avoid it. So then wisdom says, get you a coach that could coach you to success, even though you keep getting tackled. But here's the thing. Some of y'all getting tackled and you sitting in the stands. Because when it comes to the football game of life, everybody in the arena gets tackled. Meaning everybody in life. Whether you're on the field, on the sideline, in the stands, at the concession, everybody gets tackled. So if you're going to get tackled anyway, you may as well get into the game and get some yards, right? Get into the game, get some yards, and get you a coach that can guide you to a victorious life, even though you're constantly being pressed upon and challenged and tackled, right? Now, I can tell you about my own journey with God, okay? And this is just me. But the better I understand his word and his promises, the more I am in awe of who he is. Now, I don't have the answer for everything about God. I don't have that. As a matter of fact, if I did, I think then by default he would stop being God, right? If I could know everything about you, then I don't think you're God, right? But I don't know everything about God. But I do know that when I trust him, life is better for me. And I have benefited from his omniscient direction. That means all-knowing direction, because there's no way I would have chosen some of the things that I've chosen that have turned out to be some of the best things in my life if it hadn't been for him. If it hadn't been for his involvement in his direction. I'm just convinced of that, right? The thing I want you fellas to understand is that a godly man is a real man. A godly man is a real man. I used to think that being a real man was about being macho and about being tough, about being aggressive, about not letting anyone make you feel weak. Right? I thought it was about wearing boots and having a deep voice. None of that is about manhood. None of it. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I hope you're not stuck there. Because a godly man is a wise man. If you just think about Jesus, if anyone thinks that Jesus was a weak man, they either never read or does not understand the Bible. Think about it. You don't crucify wimps. You just run them out of town, right? Jesus was gentle when he needed to be, but he was also stern when he needed to be. Compassionate when he needed to be. And here's the main thing. He did not need anything from anyone other than his Father in heaven to establish his identity. That is what truly makes a man powerful, not being controlled by the beliefs and opinions of others. The Bible says that Jesus knew what was in man, so he never trusted himself to them. The thing is, when you have a real relationship with God, it can guide you to live a life more peaceful and a life more loving. It is because of my relationship with God, more than my relationship with my wife, that I won't do some things that'll hurt my wife. I'm going to say that again. It's because of my relationship with God, more than my relationship with my wife, that I won't do some things that would hurt my wife. I'll say it another way. There are some things I don't do that'll hurt my wife because of my relationship with God more than it is my relationship with my wife. Like, I love my wife, but the way that I love God, that's what really keeps me from doing certain things. And when I mess up, I often mess up. I get stuff wrong all the time. Ask my wife. I mess up all the time. The thing that makes me want to get right, yeah, I love my wife, but really it's my relationship with God. It's my relationship with God that I am trying to use as my motive. My relationship with God is what causes me to not be as petty as I want to be. Sometimes I want to be petty. My relationship with God either stops me, or when I do it, it's the Holy Spirit, I believe, that convicts me and says, hey, you know that wasn't right. And I fix it. Why? Because I have a relationship with God, a real one. God's love language is obedience. Yeah, God's love language is obedience. And I've learned that everything he wants me to obey is actually for my good, not his. It's for my good. Fellas, learn to be patient and kind. Find you a therapist and do your inner work. And then finally, develop a relationship with God, a real relationship. Talk to him daily. Listen for him to talk to you. Spend time with him daily. Your ability to thrive in life is dependent on your relationship with God. Okay? So hopefully this was helpful for you. I just wanted to share something really quick with you guys to encourage you. And let me just share one last thing with you about my day. This wasn't in my notes, but just before I got on here to do this, I was talking to my son, my oldest son, Cliff. He's a junior. And we look like twins. Y'all probably have seen our pictures together, but I was talking to my son, and it was a really good conversation. And I just happened to ask. So in the Bible, one time Jesus asked his disciples, who do men say that I am? So I hit my son with one of those kind of questions. I said, son, I appreciate the Happy Father's Day, but in your mind, what makes me a good dad? And he went to naming things, and I had to fight back the tears because the things that he was saying, that's the man I tried. That's the father I tried to be. And I often beat myself up for having dropped the ball. But my son encouraged me today. And he pointed out things that sometimes we don't even look at our own reality with the right eyes. And he pointed out something that I actually hadn't thought about. He said, you did a great job raising 3 children by yourself, 3 different personalities. He said, you never talked down to us. You never told us we was never going to be nothing. He said, you were always positive. And then he went to talk about, this is the part that kind of melted my little heart. Don't tell the other fellas that I said my heart got melted. Okay, brother. Okay. He said, I am the man that I am because of you. He said, people love me. Now, if I'm going to tell, I might as well tell it all. I don't necessarily like this part. He is his daddy's son. He said, there's several people right now in love with me. He said, I just don't want to be in a relationship. But then he said, but even beyond women, he's like, people just gravitate to me. People love me. He's like dogs. Dogs love me. Like he said, folk would be like, yeah, my dog don't really like new people, but dogs always love me. He said, children love me. And the point that he was making, he said, I give you credit for all of that. I think it's because of what you put in me. If my waterworks system worked like it's supposed to work and wasn't messed up in childhood, like most of us men, it turned right on. But they didn't turn on. But they was working on the inside. And fellas, what I'm trying to get you to do, not be like me. Don't think I shared that because I want you to be like me. That ain't it. I shared that just because it made me feel good. But now that I'm thinking about it, I really want you working to leave a legacy of love for your children. Even if you've messed up a lot, if you're still alive, you can make it up. I'm telling you. And you women, because I know it ain't just me watching this, you women who are loving these fathers, he not perfect. He not the perfect husband. He not the perfect father. He's not the perfect friend. He's not the perfect anything. Help him be a great father, but also give him some slack. I heard a great sermon today by Dr. Darius. What's Darius' last name? It ain't Miles. Where I get Darius Miles from? Oh, that's a basketball player. Darius Daniels. He did a Father's Day message today, and it was really, really powerful. And he had these 3 points for women. He referenced Spider-Man versus Peter Parker, in his sermon. Y'all love Spider-Man when we can do amazing things, but we want you to love us for Peter Parker. We want you to love us for who we are, not just how we perform. Because see, as men, we know we got to perform. We know that. But can we get some love just for being there? I'm not giving a man credit for doing what he's supposed to be doing. What? Get that out your spirit. Don't put that in your children. Get it out your sons. That's foolishness. You get a paycheck for going to work when you're supposed to go to work. What if your boss said, man, I ain't giving you no check. This is what you're supposed to do. What? No, you're going to have to pay me. Give your husband, your son's father, the credit they do. Forget if y'all don't get together. Can I talk to the single folk real quick who are raising children separately? Just because you hate him don't mean you got to turn his son or his daughter against him. That's harming the child. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Nothing can get me more angry. Well, let me see this. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm accurate. Nothing can get me angry quicker than knowing that a child is being harmed. That gets so deep up under my skin. Don't do that. Okay? Grow up in your emotional immaturity. Put yourself to the side for your child. Come on. All right. But anyway, I'll end this before I go into a whole different message. But listen, happy Father's Day. Do your part. I want you to do your part to make Father's Day a joy for the people you father. That's all I'm asking you to do. Okay? All right. You guys enjoy the rest of your Father's Day. I'm about to go enjoy mine. And as always, thank you for allowing me to speak into your life, because it is my goal to help you do love and life better.